Hi, guys. So today we started talking about our second unit, which is all about decimals. We're going to talk about where they are on the place value chart, how we compare them, um, how we order them, how we represent them in different ways. And so the big thing that is new to fifth grade is we are adding this thousands place, which you can see on the right hand side. So, starting way back in first grade, you probably started with the ones and the tens, and then you moved up to the hundreds and the thousands, and we've gone all the way to the billions, all the way as you're going to the left on the place value chart. Now, well, since last year, we added the decimal point and we added to the right, we added the tenths and the hundredths, and then now we're adding the thousandths place. So it's really important that you have it memorized the order that those go in, and that you realize every time that you're going from the ones to the tens to the hundreds, we're adding, it's 10 times the value. And when we're going to the right, when we're going from our tenths to our hundredths, our thousandths, we're getting smaller and smaller, and it's 1/10 the value as we're heading to the right. So here we can represent these as decimals. So if we're talking about 1/10, right here, this is the same as a fractional form, 1/10. 100th is the same as the 1 over 100. And if you had 1,000ths, then that would be 1 over 1,000. Whenever we look at that decimal point, so if we were to say a number, for example, this 3.25, we read the decimal point as and. So the 3.25, the correct way to say it would be 3 and 5 hundredths. And the reason I'm saying hundredths is because the 5 is in the hundredths place. So this was just a review from last year. So you could draw it out. You could put it in word form, and you say it just like you write it just the same way as you say it. So this is 3. We get to the decimal point, we say and 25 hundredths. And then in expanded, let me make this smaller, expanded notation, this is where we take the value of each digit and we tell like how we got that value. So for example, the 3 is in the ones place. So we're going to say 3 times 1, and that gives us a value of 1. Then we're going to do the next digit, which would be a 2. The 2 is in the tenths place value column. So we would do 2 times 1/10 plus the next digit is 5. So we write down the 5. And then the 5 is in the hundredths column. And so we would put 5 times 0.01. You have to put the 1 2 spots over because that's where the hundredths place is. Then we can do it as a fraction. So if we have 3 on the left-hand side, that's talking about 3 wholes. And everything to the right of the decimal point, those are our parts of a whole, or our like we don't have the whole, we just have a piece of it. So it's a part of a whole. So that's our fractions, our decimals. So if you had 25 hundredths, then you would just put the 3. The large 3 represents the 3 wholes, like I said. And then the 25 hundredths, you put the 25 over the 100. So that was just kind of a review from last year. And then now let's look at things that we've added from this year, or that we're going to add. All right, let me get all this. This is from when I was going over homework. All right, so let's take 4 and 567 thousandths. So here again is our decimal point. So the 4 represents those 4 wholes. So this is a whole number. And then the 567, it goes all the way to the thousandths. That 7 is in the thousandths place. So I would say this as 4 and 567 thousandths. So that's how I would write it as a fraction. And then I could put it in word form. So I could say 4 and 560. Oh, hold on. 60. There we go. Let me spell correctly. 67 thousandths. And then I could put it in expanded form. So I could say I'm going to take each digit. So the value of the 4 is 4 plus the value of the 5 is it's 5/10 since it's in the tenths place. The value of the 6 is 600. So I'm going to put a 0 because then that's going to make the 6 push over into the hundredths place. And then my 7, I'm going to put it, see how it's 1, 2, 3 spots over? So I have to put it in the third spot. And all of this right here, this has to equal back to my 4.567. So I want to add all those together, and I should get back to what I started with. Then let me erase some of this so I have some more space here. So that was expanded form. I can also get it, represent this in expanded notation. And expanded notation and expanded form are really similar. It's just in expanded form, you've already multiplied it out and you're already saying what the value is. In expanded notation, it's showing you kind of how you got that. So this 4 and 567 thousandths, I'm going to start with my first digit, the 4, and this is in parentheses, and I'm multiplying that 4 times 1 to give me that value of 4. Then I'm going to add, and I'm going to go to the next digit, the 5. So you write down the digit, and then you say what place it's in. So the 5 is in the tenths place, so when I multiply it by 1, the reason I'm multiplying it by 1 is to give me that same value, to give me that value of a 4, to give me that value of a 5. So when I multiply it, I want to make the 5 into a tenth, so I have to put the decimal point in a 1, because the tenth is just one spot over from the decimal point, plus I go to my next digit, the 6, and I multiply that, and the 6 is in the hundredths place, so I'm going to put my decimal point, and then the 1 has to be in the hundredths place. Then I add, and I go to my next digit, the 7, and that 7 is in the thousandths place. So again, I have to put my placeholder zeros and put the 1 in the thousandths place. That way, that 7 is in the right spot. So again, once I multiply this all out, look at the similar, I'll put the expanded form in red. So here, 4 times 1 is 4, plus this would be 0.5, plus this would be 0.06, plus this would be 0.007. So 4 plus 5/10 plus 600 plus 7 thousandths. That's that in the red, that was the expanded form. So expanded form and, like I said, expanded notation, they have a lot of things that are similar. It's just represented a little bit different. But at the end of the day, they both add up and equal back with what we started. And then one more thing, just to really make sure we got it, is we've got to make sure that we understand the place value chart. So again, we have our hundreds, our tens, our ones, and then you have your decimal point, and then you have your tenths, your hundredths, and your thousandths. Okay, so, oh dear, come back. All right, so if I put a number in here, 5, 6, 7, 4, 3, 2. Just really looking at the place value and where those numbers are on the place value chart is very important because like I could have, let's say, instead of having a 2 there, let's say I have a 4 there. Well, I've got 2 4s. I've got a 4 here and a 4 here that are the same number, but they're very, very different because this one is talking about 4 parts out of 10. This part is talking about 4 parts out of 1,000. So I always compare it to like if you're at a birthday party and you're having cake, this cake right here has been cut into 10 pieces. So the pieces are going to be small, but it's still a decent size. This cake right here has been cut into 1,000 because remember, our denominator tells us how many parts the whole has been broken into. So 1,000 pieces. And I don't know about you, but I'm a fan of cake, and I would rather have a cake that only has 10 slices or 10 10 different parts versus if I'm sharing with 1,000 people, those pieces are going to be really, really, really tiny. And when we looked at the grids today, we saw how tiny each of those little thousandths is. And so you would barely be getting a little tiny, like just a little crumb probably. It would be so tiny. So even though that these have the same digit, their values, what they're worth, is very, very different. So this is, again, 4 parts out of 10. This is 4 parts out of 1,000. So as we move to the left, we just keep getting, even though 1,000 sounds like, it's kind of misleading because 1,000 seems like more than 10, but it's not tens and it's not thousands. It's tenths, which is a fraction, and thousandths, which is a fraction. And whenever we have really large denominators, just think of that cake slice getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. So the further you go to the right, the smaller and smaller your part is going to be. So don't let that confuse you that it's a bigger number. You have to think about it as it's the same whole, but it's just getting cut into smaller parts, more and more parts. All right, so that's what we covered today. We'll be going over this more tomorrow for some more practice. But the big thing is really getting down these place value columns. We're only adding one more, this thousandths. So we should hopefully still have a good solid foundation from what we've done in previous years. And we could just add that on and continue to apply what we learned and just add it with this new one. And then a lot of the same things will be the same. It's just now we're talking about, instead of like here's 3 parts out of 100. So this is all what we did last year right here. Now we've just added, we've gone to the thousands. Alrighty. So we'll keep practicing, but I just wanted to send this as a review. And so we can keep building and moving on with that. All right, thanks for watching.